Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in the English reading of the Holy Quran, translation and commentary by Yusuf Ali. And this book was published by the Islamic Propagation Center International in Durban, South Africa, famously known for Sheikh Ahmed Didat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him. And on the inside cover of this, I don't know if you can see that, this is for the Isali Sawab of the late Ibrahim M.A. Karam, and this is my very, very good friend Ibrahim K. Karam, my very, very good friend, alhamdulillah, on his passing. His family gave this out, and I'm not sure when, but I've got a note here in July 1993. I don't know if that was his passing, Allahu Alam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him. And this is one of the benefits of giving out the Quran. So his family have given out the copy of this Quran on the passing of my good friend K. Karam, and then many, this, I don't know if it was in 1993 when he passed away, I don't know exactly, but so many years later, now we are in 2005, right? We are in the Shaban 22, 23 of Shaban 2025, February 2025, and yet now that I'm still reading this copy of the Quran, my good friend K. Karam, Ibrahim Karam, is still getting reward for this. Ameen, Ya Rabbal Alameen. You know, there's light in his grave, in his qabr. So whenever you can, please get copies of the Quran and give it out. You don't know who will keep that copy of the Quran and who will read it. And as you can see from my notes, I've got a lot of notes here. I read this over and over again. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him. Now let's just start with this, what the on the introduction page of what it says here, that let me just try and get my orientation right. I'm just struggling about, but inshallah we'll get there. Right. This is indeed a Quran most honorable, in a book well guarded, which none shall touch but those who are clean. None but the clean shall touch it, clean in body, clean in mind, clean in thought, clean in intention and your soul. Only such can achieve real contact with its full meaning. See page 1493 for further commentaries on this verse. So what it basically means, that for those of you who are non-Muslims who have asked me to read this Quran, and please try and get a copy of the Quran. You can get it from any Muslim. They'll be more than happy to give you a copy of the Quran. Try and get it from any mosque or Islamic organization. Please follow these guidelines, that when you get a copy of the Quran, remember that it is a very sacred book, right? It is a book from the Creator Supreme. Hold it with honor and dignity. Open it with honor and dignity, and make sure that as a non-Muslim, whether you're a Muslim or a non-Muslim, please make sure that you take a full shower. If you're a non-Muslim, you can take a bubble bath, or if you want to take a shower. Make sure that you brush your teeth, put some perfume, and then open the book and you pray to the Creator Supreme. So you don't have to refer to any particular name, you don't have to refer to God. Just say, "Oh Creator Supreme, the Creator who has created me, I am opening your book. Please guide me therein and give me an understanding of this magnificent book." That means clean in body. But clean in mind mean that remove all the Islamophobia from your brain, because sadly there's a lot of media misinformation about Islam, and to say that, oh, Muslims are terrorists, or what is Sharia, or what is jihad, and all of those weird type of words. Many of those words I also do not understand it. So remove all toxic and negative thoughts from your mind, and remember that the word fear, F-E-A-R, simply stands for false evidence appearing real. So the way for the Quran to touch your mind, body, heart and soul is for you to remove all discrimination, remove all prejudice for your mind, remove all, the same way that you remove all dirt from your body, that means you are very, very clean when you're holding the Quran. Similarly, you must remove all dirt from your mind as well, remove all the contamination, remove all the negative thoughts from your mind when you're approaching the Quran. And when you do that, then you will find amazing insight to the Quran which will transform your life, right? So to make your task easy, there are three ways in reading and studying the book. Firstly, what is known as index reading. Read the complete index, that means pages 1815 to 1862, and get acquainted with the many topics in the Quran. Secondly, you can do a conventional reading. Read every day one section of the Holy Quran in Arabic. That is, if you are able to do so, and myself, I find great difficulty, and I don't want to make mistakes in my errors of recitation, so I will just rather focus on the English, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me therein, but maybe derive the benefit thereon, and then read the translation with the commentary. Don't worry about finishing the book. So don't just rush through it. The main thing is to try and get some understanding. The third way of doing it is to do random reading. That means every morning before leaving home, open the holy book at random and read the translation appearing on the page opened on that particular page, and that page will be Allah's message for you on that day, right? So the whole suggestion here is, and especially to our non-Muslim viewers who are very, very curious and interested about Islam, I've had so many requests, alhamdulillah, from Russia. I've got SMSs from Russia, from Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia, Europe, France, Germany, Amsterdam, America, California, various parts of the world, in Japan, in Thailand, Philippines, Nepal, Ethiopia. Many people, alhamdulillah, are interested in the Quran. So read the Quran, study the Quran, and practice the message of the Quran, right? And that's from the advice by the Islamic Propagation Center International in Queen Street, Durban. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward abundantly for making copies of these available. And then you can obviously get a lot of, by Sahih International, the Saudi Arabian government has produced millions and millions of copies of the Quran. So it just depends which copy of the Quran you want to read. But alhamdulillah, I've got the copy of the Quran published by the Islamic Propagation Center in South Africa. And this is the Holy Quran translation and commentary by Abdullah Yusuf Ali, and this is the book that I'm most familiar with, and I love it all the great, alhamdulillah. So this is copyrighted. I don't know if you can see that, very, very faint, very, very faint. I can't even get that, but what I can read there, it's 1946, right? Now I don't know if we can get through this. It is very, very difficult to go through these words, very, very tiny, but let's try and go through it very, very slowly. This is a preface to the first edition in 1934. Right, I don't know if you can see there, but I'll try and read through it slowly. It's not very clear at all because I've got quite an old book, but let's try and go through it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it. This is the author himself writing the preface to the first edition, and it is very nice to see his insight, what motivated him to make a translation of the book. Remember, this was in the 1940s, where 1920, 1930, before the Second World War, because Second World War was between 1939 and 1945, and this was just after the First World War, and thus he wrote it in Britain, in the United Kingdom. Right, so let's go through what he's got to say and his thoughts. And Islamophobia was very prevalent in those times, and we did not have much English translations or tafsirs of the Quran, and many non-Muslims were making copies of the Quran, English translation of the Quran, with many, many errors from their biased viewpoints. Right, so this is what the author is saying, Abdullah Yusuf Ali, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant him the highest stage in Jannah al-Firdaus and reward him right. I do not wish to write a long preface. I wish merely to explain the history of my project, the scope and plan of this work, and the objects I have held in view. In separate introductory notes, I have mentioned the useful books to which I have referred under the headings: commentaries on the Quran, translations of the Quran, the useful works of reference. I have similarly explained the system in which I have followed the translation of Arabic words and names, the abbreviations I have used, and the principal divisions of the Quran. It may be asked, is there a need for a fresh English translation? To those who ask this question, I commend a careful consideration of the facts which I have set out in my notes on the translation. I find that I've helped them even the least bit further in understanding. I must have put there, after they have read it, I would invite them to take any particular passage and compare it with the previous version they choose. If they find that I have helped them even the least but further in understanding the meaning of the Quran, or appreciating the beauty of the Quran, or catching something of the grandeur of the original, then I would claim that my humble attempt has been justified. Ameen. It is a duty of every Muslim, man, woman, or child, to read the Quran and understand it according to his or her own capacity. If any one of us attains to some understanding or some knowledge or understanding of it by study, by contemplation, and the test of life, both outward and inward, then it is his duty, it is the duty of that person, according to his capacity, to instruct others. You see, to instruct others, and that is what I'm trying to do in my own humble way. I'm not part of the ulama, I'm not part of the alim, I am simply sharing knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it. Ameen. To instruct others and share with them the joy and peace which results from contact with the spiritual world. The Quran Indeed, every religious book has to be read not only with the tongue and voice and eyes, but with the best light that our intellect can supply, and even more with the truest and purest light which our heart and conscience can give us. It is in this spirit that I would have my readers approach the Quran. Right? Magnificent words from Abdullah Yusuf Ali. It was between the ages of 4 and 5 that I first learnt to read its Arabic words, to revel in its rhythm and music and wonder at its meaning. I have a dim recollection of the Khatam ceremony which closed that stage. You know what I'm going to do? I'm finding it very difficult to read it like this. So with your permission, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to focus on reading this directly from the Quran itself, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive me therein, because I'll find it easier to read it. I don't know if I can focus on that while I'm reading, but I'll rather prefer reading it like this, right? So I'm going to try it, right? Let me start again. It is the duty of every Muslim man, woman or child to read the Quran and understanding it according to his own capacity. If any of us attains to some knowledge or understanding of it by study, contemplation and the test of life, both outward and inward, it is his duty, according to his capacity, to instruct others and share with them the joy and peace which result from contact with the spiritual world. The Quran, indeed, every religious book, has to be read not only with the tongue and voice and eyes, but with the best light that our intellect can supply, and even more with the truest and purest light which our heart and conscience can give us. It is in the spirit that I would have my readers approach the Quran. It was between the ages of 4 and 5 that I first learned to read its Arabic words, to revel in its rhythm and music, and wonder at its meanings. I have a dim recollection of the Khatam ceremony which closed that stage. It was called completion. It really just began a spiritual awakening that has gone on ever since. My revered father taught me Arabic, but I must have imbibed from him into my innermost being something more, something which told me that all the world's thoughts, all the world's most beautiful languages and literatures are but vehicles for the ineffable message which comes to the heart in rare moments of ecstasy. The soul of mysticism and ecstasy is in the Quran, as well as that plain guidance for the plain man which a world in a hurry affects to consider as sufficient. It is good to make this personal confession to an age in which it is the highest degree unfashionable to speak of religion or to speak of spiritual peace or consolation, an age in which words like these draw forth only derision, pity or contempt. And this was written in 1934 and is just as valid today in 1925 as it is valid so many years, 100 years ago. I have explored Western lands, Western manners and the depths of Western thought and Western learning to an extent which has rarely fallen to the lot of an Eastern mortal, but I have never lost touch with my Eastern heritage. Through all my successes and failures, I have learned to rely more and more upon the one true thing in all my life, the voice that speaks in a tongue above that of mortal mankind, mortal human beings. For me, the embodiment of that voice has been in the noble words of the Arabic Quran, which I have tried to translate for myself and apply to my experience again and again. The service of the Quran has been the pride and the privilege of many Muslims. I felt that with such life experience as has fallen to my lot, my service to the Quran should be to present it in a fitting garb in English. That ambition I have cherished in my mind for more than 40 years. I have collected books and materials for it. I have visited places, undertaken journeys, taken notes, sought the society of men, and tried to explain their thoughts and hearts in order to equip myself to this task. Now, as you can see, I've still got a long way to go. It's very, very difficult reading. It's small writing. Then I've still got that page to go. Then it's still another page to go after that. Then it's still another page to go after that, and another page to go after. So it's quite a long preface, and it's still going on, and it's 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 going on. until there's quite a few pages. It's 10 and 4. There's 14 Roman pages, right? So I'm going to take a pause now. I'm going to read, as I mentioned, in small sections. This is a part that is quite complicated because it's small writing. But then, inshallah, when we get to the Quran, right, then we will read like the Arabic and the English. But I won't read the Arabic side, right? I'll just focus on the English, and I won't read the summary notes at the bottom. The summary notes, I'll leave it for you, because each person wants to have a different understanding of the Quran. So because this non-Muslims have asked me, some of my friends have asked me to just have an English rendition of the Quran, so I'll just try and keep my commentary as brief as possible, as little as possible, but to let the Quran speak on itself. Right? Join me in the next session as well. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ameen Ya Rabbil Alameen.